Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Cupid's Coach podcast. I'm your host, Julie Ferman, inviting you to transform me to we through your own process of doing dating better. Now, today we have a tough subject, but an important subject. It's related to abuse of one kind or another and how we deal with it when it happens, how we deal with it after it happens, so that we can have a clean slate to go about moving forward in our love lives. My guest is Angeline Constantinou, and she's in Florida, Stuart, Florida, and she has a podcast as well, and she's an author. Let's Break the Silence is what she's all about. She helps women break free from limiting beliefs after domestic violence and divorce. So, a podcast is a space where we can talk about the things that men and women experience and struggle to explain. So, the topic is abuse, and you're here to talk about it with us. Thank you for joining us on the program, Angeline.
Oh, my pleasure, Julia. Thank you so much for having me as a guest on your amazing podcast show. I love the introduction. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're a podcast producer too, so you know the
Yes.
importance of it and the joy of it when the words that we share go out on the airwaves and someone writes us and says, that one thing that you said made all the difference to me.
It does. I mean, the
Mhm.
podcast is
Yeah.
something I had a vision and a dream about 6, 7 years ago, actually. I started my podcast, Let's Break the Silence with Angeline, based on a vision and a dream, and also a platform for survivors to use their voices, to rewrite their stories, to help them talk about domestic violence because it's swept under the carpet. It is a taboo subject. And I went through, unfortunately, which led to my purpose today, but I went through domestic violence and financial abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, but it led me to where I am today. So we have the power to break free. And the way to do that is to take ownership and to stop playing the victim.
That means a lot to me. I
Mm,
was thinking this morning as I was getting ready to talk with you about a date that happened last week, and there won't be a second date. And the reason
okay.
is because she was stuck in victimhood. When I first met her, it was a couple years ago, and it was pretty soon after traumatic stuff had happened to her. And it's
Right.
all she could talk about. It's all she would talk about. And I said, I don't think I'm going to be ready to send you out on a date yet if it's still so heavy on your psyche
Sure.
that you're going to dominate the conversation about it. I want people to know what their past is and be able to put it in a small soundbite so that it doesn't dominate, especially a first date. Well, she went on for hours. He was stuck at that table for hours and
Mhm.
she couldn't get off of it. So the question I had in my mind is, who would
Mm,
you be if you weren't your story about the victim that you
mm.
were in this situation? It was 4 or 5 years ago, and she's reliving it every time she tells the story. So talk to us about first, how did you how did you first get the courage to break out of the situation that you were in? Clearly, it was abusive. It wasn't serving you. It might have been serving this other person, but it wasn't serving you. What
No,
was the moment when you said, all right, I can get out? I'm going to.
that pivoting moment happened, believe it or not, when I was referred an attorney that was like the best attorney. I used to live in Dutchess County, so this is before I moved, upstate New York and then moved to Florida. So, anyways, make a long story short, I just took ownership. I surrendered. That's what I did. I surrendered, drew a line in the sand, and I said to myself that I am worthy and I deserve better. I deserve to live a life filled with joy and happiness and abundance. And I don't deserve to be stuck in this toxic marriage. It was really bad. I mean, when you think about it way back, it's like, oh my God, how did I get through this? But I finally broke free from it. So I called an attorney. and I drove to her office in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I wrote out a check for $5,000. That was basically the last of my savings. And but I said, what good is the money if I'm miserable? And then I sought out mentorship. So, second step, to get outside of yourself. And like, I'm passionate about exercise, yoga. Like, I'm passionate about a lot of things. I love to dance and I love to do all these things, and I love to write as well. So, um, I sought mentorship and I actually became involved in the online space right after that. There were online support groups that I joined. And this was a community of women. For me, that was life changing. A community of women to empower each other. Just basically, let's lift each other up and rise up. And I think with this lady here, the reason why she's rehashing it, it's she hasn't healed from it. So this poor guy who had to sit through how many hours? 2 hours?
It was a 3 hour date, and 2 hours of it was about the trauma. And
Yeah, see, that's a
wait,
big. I was actually reading an article about that a few days ago. If you keep rehashing the trauma, you are going to attract that type of person in your life. And unfortunately, she has not taken that step yet to heal. It's different when when you're sharing your story. I mean, if she's still hurt, she's broken, but it's not the end of the world. She can heal her. She can seek mentorship. She can seek resources. I had a woman reach out to me over the weekend. Like my website has a lot of resources for women who have gone through the trauma. So she still has that trauma bond with, it's a trauma bond and it's still there. And what she needs to do is to unlearn everything. And that's what I did. You have to unlearn everything that you learned from the toxic marriage because, your self-esteem is gone, basically. My
yeah.
my self-worth was gone, but I just realized that I deserved better.
Mhm.
I woke up and that was it.
It's almost like the drive to recover from it, evolve through it, create a new existence for ourselves has to be bigger than what we're getting out of being the victim.
Right, right. Exactly, exactly, exactly.
And it's
But
at some point we have to make a decision. I'm going to stop telling the story. Or I've worked with people in my boot camp. It's a month-long boot camp and it's
oh,
virtual. We work on a lot of things together, men and women together in office hours calls. It's really fun.
that's great.
And we practice saying difficult things. So if you're on a
Ah.
first date, let's pretend Angeline is on a first date. You and I, we're having a first date. So tell me about your marriage. How was it and what caused things to end? How did that go? What are you going to say?
That's a good question. What am I going to say? Okay. Well, my marriage was good in the beginning, um, but later on, I recognized that there was abuse. And while I did lose my sense of self-worth and self-confidence, I took steps. I hired an attorney and I was able to break free from those limiting beliefs that were instilled on me because I was told many times that I was not going to make it. Wrong. Wrong. So I
Yeah.
think that's how I would respond, but I wouldn't go on and on for 2 hours.
Yes. And the way you did it, Angeline, you
Mm,
said you took responsibility for the limiting beliefs that you had taken on, that had been ingrained in you, that we tend to roll over in our minds again and again and again, which cements it in. And then when we tell other people, it cements it in that much more. So you
right.
reached a point where you could take ownership for the situation, and that's empowering.
Sure it is. Absolutely. It makes you feel good. I mean, it is very empowering.
Yeah. The
Taking
other thing
ownership because that's when you take your power back.
yeah,
The minute that you take ownership is when you take your power back.
you're not
And you're not
blaming.
putting this person on a pedestal. That's it. You're done. But like, there's so
Yeah.
many other women out there who feel stuck. The reason why they feel stuck, they're not conscious of the limiting beliefs, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So that's where the rewiring of the brain comes in. I help them work through that, meaning breaking
Hmm.
free means doing inner work, shadow work, meditations, all these things that I have done for me that have helped me regain my confidence. And now I'm able to now speak on stages, global
Hmm.
stages, host a podcast. Your podcast is a stage.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
I'm able to do all that now. And that was the biggest chicken of going Facebook Live. So let me just share this little story. Oh boy, I share this on every podcast show. So I had sought mentorship back in 2000, at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. So my mentor, who was a male, and we still talk. Um, I was having trouble sharing my story. I wanted to share my story to empower other women, and this is when the podcast started and everything. He said, Angeline, you haven't gone live yet to share your story. And I gulped. I'm like, oh, okay. I could do that. So I went live for 18 minutes in March of 2018. The camera, I didn't have this Zoom, nothing. This was raw and real on my phone in my one bedroom apartment in New York. And I went live for 18 minutes, shared my story, poured out my heart and soul, and it went viral to 7 million views. I didn't
Billion?
expect that. I did not expect that. Million, yeah.
Million. Oh my gosh. That is really powerful.
See?
And the reason why it was so impactful is because it was raw and it was real, and you weren't doing it in order to sell books. You weren't doing it to get something, except for maybe freedom from its hold on you.
Freedom, right, to release it. That's what he was saying, to release it. And that's basically, that was the release. And yes, real and raw. I wasn't looking for anything in return. I was just out there, you know, lighting was not all that great, but the message was very powerful. So there is power in sharing your story. So that's when I realized that I need to start a podcast. So I started
Yeah.
it 2 months before COVID happened in 2019. Then COVID happened to 2020, the pandemic. And now all of a sudden people are coming to me. They're like, I want to be on your show. I want to be on your show. And then a couple of years later, I decided to implement coaching into my because first I wanted to, the podcast is your platform. So you want to build your platform and your community essentially. So I built this community. So I said, now I'm going to start a coaching program for women. And that's worked out very well. There's been ups and downs, but it's just part of the industry. But like my message stood out with many women. And, being the light, especially in the pandemic, that's not an easy thing to do. But like women came to me and they said, thank you for being the light. And I actually helped one woman get out of a situation because at that time in New York City, everything was shut down, but the hotline was not shut down. So I said, just call the hotline. And they found her a one bedroom apartment in 24 hours. So she was able to leave with her child because it was like, yeah, she called me in tears. Like a lot of women come to me in tears and panic. But then, when I talk to them, then they say, oh, yeah, I could do that. See?
A couple things that I think help with these situations.
Mm.
One for sure is to stop talking about it like it's the story that defines you. I like what you said
Ah,
there, that your past doesn't define you, your future does.
that's true. That's
And
true.
so, not talking about it ad nauseum and putting it in little sound bites so that it's more comfortable for other people to hear who don't need to hear the gory details. But the
No,
other thing, I wonder what you have to think about this, to say about this. I would say most of us have experienced some level of abuse with some person in our life. It could be a boss, it could be a mother, it could be a father, a spouse, a
true.
child. Um, And something that helps me with those situations that have happened in my life, it gave me power when I realized, this person's elevator only goes up to the second floor, and I'm expecting them to operate on the 10th floor. They don't have the capacity. It's not to say that they should have an excuse for their behavior, but it
Mm,
it helps me to handle when they behave that way again in the future. Like,
right.
okay, there it is again, because I know I can't snap my fingers and create an awareness that they weren't willing to have, right?
Right, right, exactly.
So when that happens to you, when you are with somebody that you know is abusive, you have to put up with it. They're in your family, they're in your workplace, you know what it is, you know you can't change it. What do you tell yourself that enables you to get through it instead of falling into the trap that it is to be angry, bitter, lashing out? What
Right.
works for you?
What worked for me is number one, to keep my distance. Um, so my brother, they call it sibling rivalry. That's that's abuse. It's a form of abuse. So I haven't really talked about this openly, but I've been sharing bits and pieces of my story regarding my brother. So when my dad passed away, which was in 2000, December of 2024, we hadn't talked in a while, and he called me, told me everything that happened. And I thought, I made an effort to try to mend it, meaning to resolve everything. And it didn't pan out that way. Um, so unfortunately, even though we settled my dad's estate, it was like it was on his terms. And he was like he was very nasty and rude and a lot of anger issues. So I recognize the fact that he has anger issues because I've discovered recently that he cut off everyone in the family, my cousins and myself. So I just said, okay, there's nothing that I can do. He's not going to change. And this goes for anyone who has had a brother who or sister who's been abusive or a parent. The best thing to do for yourself is to forgive. It doesn't mean that you let them back in your life. It Forgiveness means you're forgiving yourself essentially, and you're letting go of that grudge. Let him hold the grudge, not me. I'm not going to hold the grudge.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
There is nothing sexy about a grudge.
Oh no, not at all. It suppresses your immune system. That's well, it suppresses everything, your emotions, and you're not able to function. And
That's
how
right.
someone, I mean, how can anyone function holding grudges? It just like that baffles me.
The elevator can't go up past that floor. They're stuck there
There you go.
until they have the opportunity, the insight to forgive themselves for whatever their part is in it, even if it was staying an extra 10 years that maybe they might not have. Can we forgive
Right.
ourselves for that? Can we accept that this person only has a certain amount of capacity and not
Mm,
let that define our experience of living, right? It's
right.
freeing when we realize, oh, there they go again. That's the thing that they do. And how
Right.
refreshing is it that it doesn't derail me? I really encourage people to use the small challenges in life to fortify these capacities. I like for people to practice so much when they're driving on the freeway, anywhere we're
Mm.
driving, right? Because you can get reactivated really easily because there are a lot of jerks
Oh,
out,
absolutely.
people operating behind their wheels like narcissistic people, right? And
Exactly.
it's a great opportunity to practice our ability to be in the presence of it without it catching me, right?
Right, exactly, 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 exactly. So even our pastor was talking about it on Sunday, not this past Sunday, but last Sunday, about
Mm,
forgiveness, and it hit home. It you're when you forgive, you're actually setting boundaries too, meaning, I'm not going to be an open book anymore. If you want to, like, if this person apologizes, fine, but that doesn't mean you let them back totally in your life because they'll
yeah,
probably do the same thing over and over again. You know what I mean? So, I
There's
don't,
something,
I choose not to be in that cycle and to be in that toxic relationship. And that goes for siblings. It goes for my own brother. So,
yeah, that's right.
there's a
I
lot
like
of
what you
issues.
said, that who you're here for is for women who are done shrinking, who have
Mm.
outgrown survival.
Oh, yeah.
They're ready to lead with clarity, conviction,
Right.
alignment, to live a life filled with happiness, self-love, and purpose. We can't be living with happiness, self-love, and
Mm.
purpose if we are operating from a place of holding grudges, surviving just to try to get through the day.
I know.
So here's a question that I'm wondering how you will respond to it. We're all we all have weaknesses, and we have strong days and we have weak days, strong moments
Oh,
and
yeah.
weak moments. So our old patterning is still powerful, and there are times when our old patterning might sort of act like it wants to take over. How do you hold your center when you're weak? Like you're tired, you're exhausted, you're
Mm.
not at your best, and it happens, which is that reactivation.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
what do you
Yep.
do?
What do I do? That's a good question. Um, what I do is I take some deep breaths.
Hmm.
So I do some deep breathing and just being comfortable in the silence. That's not easy to do when something like that happens. So just to like stay grounded and don't react because it's a trigger. I used to overreact. So, I mean, that was
No, a
I
woman who overreacts like I do? No, not you.
I used to overreact. Now I don't anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore.
You've trained yourself.
Right.
Um,
I trained my mind. I've trained
yeah,
my mind to not overreact. And you'd be
yeah,
surprised, like I'll be out in public, like I'll be out walking around, and then there'll be someone like a woman just overreacting to something. Stupid. I'm like, how could you just overreact to something? It's a trigger.
right,
So she's
right.
triggered. So she's triggered by something. Maybe
Yeah,
something that her husband said, or or maybe her child, or who knows. But like in some instances, like now with my brother, he could like stand on his head. I wouldn't have a reaction now. Nope.
can't get to you. I
Nope, he
love,
can't because otherwise you're feeding into it.
yes,
If you
and you have surrounded yourself with love
right,
and
right.
compassion and purpose, and you've created joy for yourself, and you know what it feels like, and you're not going to be pulled back into that place. And they want to.
They want to pull you back. They
They
do.
want us to be reactivated. They want us to be um, defensive, screaming. They've caused a reaction of some kind, which feels
I know.
powerful at a low level. So there was this time when our oldest son is a golfer and a really good one, except for the times when he would get angry and break his clubs.
Mm,
Clubs that I had paid for, right? I was like, there's something wrong with this picture. Why am I allowing this? And so I hired this coach to come out to our property. We had a putting green. For some reason, my husband always has a putting green in our house. I don't know why. He doesn't even use it that much, but we always have it.
right,
I invite this guy out to my house for a full day to coach my son. And I didn't want to be the hovering mom, so I'm like inside, kind of paying attention, looking, but I couldn't hear any of it. And at the
right,
end of the day, I wasn't sure if anything really happened, if anything shifted. And he pulled me aside and he said, Julie, I want you to remember 5 words. And I'm like, okay. Whenever it gets like this, whenever you see the temper coming up, whenever you see the thing that he does, I want you to remember 5 words. This is not about me.
right, exactly.
As a mother, we want our children to grow up straight and strong so we can be
Exactly.
proud of them. We don't want them to be the kid who's like crashing his golf clubs into the green and not exactly what they want at the golf course.
Right,
And
exactly.
so it helped me to realize, look, it speaks badly for me and the type of
Sure.
mother I might be that this could be happening, but it's not about me, it's his journey.
It's his journey. It's not about you. This is not about me.
Right.
So last week, when my cousin contacted me about my brother because I needed something, she said, "Well, he cut me off, and I don't know why." And I said, "Forget it. It's not about you. It's about him.
Hmm.
Just
Hmm.
let it go. Just
Yeah.
let,
Yeah.
just let it go."
Especially when it's somebody who we don't have to have in our life on a day in and day out basis.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And we can practice on people out there in the world who are aggravating us on the
Right.
road.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's just practice because we're building new muscle memory instead of.
Mm.
I remember one time we were having a very, very uncomfortable conversation over dinner. It was my husband and me and the son who used to break golf clubs. I don't think he breaks them anymore. At least if he does, I'm not paying for them anymore.
You're not paying for them anymore,
I'm
right?
not paying for them anymore.
They
But
get expensive.
the conversation got intense and I was really uncomfortable. And I wanted to do what I tend to do, which is just leave, right? We all have different types of
Oh,
personalities.
I
I'm
know.
more avoidant, and other people are more get in there and combat. I'm like, no, I
They're
got to get out of
combative.
here.
Yeah.
I don't want to become the worst version of myself. I need to slink out of the situation right now. But it was a tiny little table in a tiny little booth, and I couldn't get out, Angeline. I couldn't get
Really?
out. Couldn't.
Oh,
And so I realized I wasn't going to be able to just do my normal avoidant behavior. I was going to have to just suffer through it. And I did exactly what you said, focused on my breath. I have to do it kind of quietly and not in an observable kind of way. Otherwise, somebody will know that that I don't want anybody to know
oh
that I'm
yeah.
doing something to
Right.
try to suffer through being with them.
Right. Exactly.
But the breath work really, really, really helps. And then if
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying in my head at the same time, this is not about me. This is their shit, right?
Exactly.
They can't
Exactly.
get to me. I've bubbled myself so that I'm protected. And how do we reinforce the bubble of ourselves? Caring for ourselves is through regular self-care every day and practice,
Yes.
right?
Every day, for example, I went out for a pedicure. I treated myself to a pedicure. I haven't had one done in a long time. I know, but it's okay. So if like get your nails done. I'm getting my hair done on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like Wednesday after because I'm flying out on Friday to London to speak.
I
And
saw that. That's very
yeah.
exciting. What program are you speaking at in London?
Okay, so I am speaking, it's about breaking barriers. So the theme is breaking barriers. And they found my story to be empowering. So I'm going to be talking about victim to victory and how I reclaim my power after abuse. So it's a keynote. I'm one of 15 keynote speakers. And this is what I'm saying, everyone. This took years for me. So this didn't happen overnight. Like people will ask me, how did you do this? It's years of work.
Right.
I put in the work, the inner work, the healing work. I do somatic healing on Wednesdays. So it releases all that baggage that you've been carrying, like it
Mm,
releases all that. So, for me now I could just go up on stage and speak. And I spoke in Austin recently about a month ago, and I had my phone, like you consult with your notes.
yeah,
So after about 3 minutes, I put the phone down,
good.
spoke.
Right.
That's how I
Yeah.
speak. And I have slide presentations ready for
Yeah.
me, but I'm just going to put it up there and just talk.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's
right.
absolutely, it is
Speak
a
from your
practice.
heart. Speak from your
Mhm,
heart. And
mhm.
I think that's what really stands out with a lot of people. Like, this is not AI. This is real, raw, vulnerable sharing my victim to victory story. So
Yeah.
there is no AI, all this. I mean, it has its place and everything, but I'm up there speaking. And look, if I cry, I cry. If
Yeah.
I, like if I break, like my voice cracked a little bit in Austin, but then I came back. So people know that this is
Yeah.
deep. I mean, this is a deep subject that I am very passionate about. So,
Really appreciate what you're up to. So the message, ladies, it's for ladies, this particular episode. If you know that you're under the effect of some kind of abuse that's happened to you and it's keeping you stuck, and it's probably you're carrying it into your dating experiences, you're carrying it into your relationships today. That's why we have Angeline here. So if people want to work with you, what's the process? How do they find you?
Okay, so they can find me on my website at letsbreakthesilence.com. There is a book a call button. So I would be more than happy to book a collaborative call, a free coaching session with you to see where you're at right now and to map out, what, like I want to know where you're at and how you could become the new version of yourself.
Hmm.
So people can reach out to me on my website. I have my podcast there, I have my speaking, and I have my coaching programs there. I have a 9-week signature program that helps women overcome these limiting beliefs
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
help them reclaim their confidence so they can step into their divine identity. So book a call with me and let's explore that. Let's explore working together.
I love that. And it's a similar process for me. I love to give
Mm.
away a free 30-minute phone
Oh,
call, and it's
yeah.
the same thing. I want to find out where they are in their journey and what it
Right.
is they're looking for. And I want to get a sense for if they're playing with a full deck or not. Like, are they
There you go. Right. I agree.
are they batshit crazy? Or, it's we all are to some extent, I suppose, but it's really good when we can realize, all right, I've had enough. I want more for myself. And
Right. Right.
empower ourselves by finding coaches who can speak to us in a way that inspires us to transform and to grow. And yes, it's practice. It's like
Oh,
you don't decide one day you're going to lose weight and then it's all just handled. No, it's a daily practice. I'm going to
right.
exercise more.
It's a process. It's a
Practice.
process.
Yeah.
Practice. You have to practice every single day. You got to do meditate. I do meditations and I journal every single morning.
Yeah. It helps to set us up and
Right.
to wire our brains with healthy, good thinking instead of what happens automatically, which is really pretty crappy thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, crappy thinking. And then that stays, we speak our lives into existence. So
Yeah.
let's speak goodness and positivity in our lives. Otherwise, all that negative stuff is just going to be in your brain. And
We
it's,
speak our lives into existence. Beautifully said.
thank
Love it.
you.
Well, I'm very happy to see that you busted through the limitations that you had
Thank
been
you.
living underneath and within. You busted through it. And like so many of us who are coaches, it's natural for us to want to help other people find this joy, find this freedom. Thank you for being on the show, Angeline. I really appreciate you.
And I appreciate you too, Julie. Thank you so much for having
Absolutely.
me on your podcast show. It was a pleasure. Thank
It's
you.
really
Thank
great.
you.
So, ladies, go out there and transform me to we for yourself. Thanks for being here.